You could probably think of Wolverine's claws as bones, as part of his genetic mutation and something that he developed along with the rest of his powers that later got coded in adamantium thanks to the Weapon X program. And while yes, you would be correct, that's not the original intention, and that is a massive retcon. I was recently covering a story where Wolverine's hands showed to have the metal knuckles on them, and I got a couple of comments where people were really surprised as to why they would be there. This story came out in 2009, and to be clear, this is just an artist's preference is why they did this. But this is always a surprise to me when people are surprised by those metal knuckles just being on his hands, because, I grew up on X-Men the Animated Series, and I was used to seeing Logan like this. And if we go back to his first appearance, the claws were not supposed to be a part of his mutation. In fact, the writer of that very book says in a blog that he intended the claws to be a part of the gloves and not a part of Logan at all. Now, admittedly, that's not the best idea, and then later, a little-known X-Men writer, Chris Claremont, comes around and decides that the claws should be a part of Wolverine. But still not a part of his mutation. Claremont changed it so that the claws were inside of Logan's body, yes, but as a part of the Weapon X program, and it was actually an implant put into his forearm. And there's plenty of details about this. They even talk about how, the metal knuckles on his hands have, silicone bushings inside of them, so he doesn't just, have open, exposed holes into his body. Pause. But so yeah, for a long period of time, the knuckles were just a part of Logan. They weren't a part of any kind of gloves or anything like that. So when X-Men the Animated Series rolls out in 1991, that's how Wolverine was drawn, that's how I was familiar with him growing up, and obviously how some artists still like to portray him. Now, the bone claws actually first get introduced in 1993. We see in X-Men number 25, Magneto rips all of the adamantium very painfully out of Logan's body, and subsequently in Wolverine 75, the next issue, we see that Logan has bone claws. And just to further prove my point, we can see right here in the dialogue, once his bone claws pop out, they say, his claws, they're bone. How could that be? Obviously, this is an idea that stuck. He's had bone claws since this moment, and in every adaptation since. In the 2001 miniseries, Wolverine Origin, they go back and retcon it so that those bone claws were always there from the jump, from the second he got his mutation. And yes, while that's the Wolverine we know and love now, and that's the wide public perception of how his powers work, for 20 years in publication, that was just never the intention.